Okay, seniors, this is Mr. Battaglia, and this is a video that is basically going over the book talk. I gave this to you guys ahead of time. This was all part of the supplemental work. If you've been slacking, you better pick up that slack. I've been telling you since basically we got together that the book talk is going to be the final project. And in fact, now more than ever, I am envisioning going through Mouse with you guys. Certainly a real scaled back version, but you will read it. I don't know what else we are going to do at this point. I am just now creating stuff for week 1, but I know for a fact we're going to do Mouse. I know for a fact we're going to continue the book talks. This is going to be your final project. This is going to be the biggest grade of the coming quote-unquote fourth 9 weeks. I just wanted to use this video time to go back over this. Some of you I have been emailing. I know many of you have been working on it. I am positive that there are those of you out there, a few names come to mind, that I'm willing to bet you haven't even done any of this. So, obviously you should be reading. In fact, reading, I'm going to give you time for our 45-minute lessons to read. So you should be doing this. I'm going to give you time in our 45-minute lessons to actually do this. Again, it says, fall 2020. But however, that is for you guys. Remember, there was a rubric that went along with this. Right now, I'm only focused on this. Now, there's kind of the 3 parts, right? There is the book talk outline, which we're looking at, outline/menu. Then there's going to be the script. Then there's going to be the video, which also should contain a PowerPoint presentation. I did include the exemplary book talk link so you can see what the final product will look like. Right now, you're not worried about the script. Right now, you're not worried about the book talk video. Now, if you've been working this whole time, maybe you're way ahead and maybe you are there. And if you have questions about the script or doing the video in the PowerPoint, let me know. But I plan on walking you through it each week. There will be time again, as I said, to read, but you should have been reading all along because you've known about this all along. We talked about it on that last week. I know it's been a while, but it's still due. So this is the majority of what we're going to be doing. I'm not going to be assigning you to read Mouse. I'm going to be doing that with you. You can read along as we go. If you want to read ahead, great. If not, I'm going to be going over it with you. However, you're going to be doing this, the book talk, with some Mouse stuff. But primarily, guys, your work is going to be here. So let's check it out. Again, you're going to be doing the outline first and foremost, okay? There are the mandatory parts, which you have to do. Those are in bold. And then there are the choices. So if you just did the mandatory plus 3 of the menu choices, you'd be eligible for the full 20 points. If you did the mandatory plus 2, you'd be eligible for 17. Now, that depends on how well you do those choices. If you put 1 word for each answer, that's not a full menu choice. Most of the menu choices say, give complete information. So it depends on how fully you complete each choice. But if you complete each choice fully, again, the mandatory plus 3 is 20. The mandatory plus 2 is 17. The mandatory plus 1 has a potential for 14, depending on how well you filled out that 1. And the mandatory alone is 11 out of 20 points. As it says, you must fill it out completely. Short, terse, incomplete menu option choices will result in loss of points. Now, we're only focused on this, but right now, you should easily be able to do the mandatory intro, the title, the author, the genre. Is it part of a series? So again, is it about witches and wizards? Is it book 3 in the Harry Potter series? Is it about historical fiction? Is it humorous? Is it young adult? That's, the genre, and then let us know if it's part of a series. When was it published? Similar books. If you don't know, I would advise going to goodreads.com. Type in your book. Again, that is goodreads.com. On that website, type in your book. And at the bottom, they spit out something. I think it says, if you liked this book, here are some similar books you may also like. That is an option for you to find similar books. Otherwise, you're adults. You can figure out similar books to the book you're reading. List them. But if you need help, Goodreads is a good resource. What's your overall rating? Again, I always use the 10's amazing, 1's terrible. Give it a number. But maybe you want to use, a B plus is your scale, or 2 thumbs up. Give it some sort of scale so we have an idea. Is it 4 out of 5 stars? Is it 4.5 stars out of 5? Is it a 7 out of 10? Is it a B+? Is it only 1 thumb up? Is it, half a popcorn bucket full? Whatever your rating system is, let us know. Then who would you recommend it to? Meaning, do you think freshmen could read it? Could middle schoolers read it? Is it only for mature audiences? Is it for mature young adult audiences? Is it for guys? Is it for girls? Is it for those that like sports? That kind of thing. And then you are obviously going to have the little spoilers comment, let people know up front, there are going to be spoilers. Okay. So once you've done the mandatory intro, you can pretty much scroll down and do the mandatory conclusion, because just like a concluding paragraph, you're not bringing up anything new, you're really just restating what was said. So, restate the title and the author. The prediction part. Now this, you might have to wait until the very end, but that means, if it's part of a series, what do you think's going to happen in the next book in the series? Maybe you ask some questions. Will he get out of the chains? Will our hero find his long-lost love? Will the father return? That kind of thing. If it is not part of a series, if it's just one book, pretend that after that last page has been read, what do you think's going to happen in the next year or so in the character's life? Will they find love again? Will they be reunited with someone? Will they continue their character arc? So imagine Paper Towns, right? That's not part of a series. What's Margot going to be doing that coming fall? Will Q succeed when he goes to Duke? Where are Ben and Radar at this point? So you would be predicting what you think would happen. Again, restate why you like the book. So you might want to basically look at what you said at the beginning, why you like the book, and then just rephrase it. Restate again your rating, a B+, a 9 out of 10, whatever. Restate who should read it and what the age group is. Is it for all high schoolers? Is it for high schoolers that are capable of reading mature content? That kind of thing. And then, again, you might have to wait to the end, but what makes the book good in your eyes? If that one thing that really got you, like Paper Towns, maybe, since we've all read that, I'm going to use that as an example. Maybe you liked it because you're seniors and it's about seniors. Maybe that's what made it good. And some of you, there are different stages. Some of you loved it, some of you hated it, some of you were in between. But what is the good part that you identified with? Did John Green capture what it's like to be a teen? Did you identify with the coming out of your shell senior year? Did you have similar feelings about prom? That kind of thing. That's your connection to the book. So at this point, you should be able to do the intro and the conclusion. Maybe, just maybe, you can do the exposition. Now, the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, don't have to use those words, but it's basically the 5 most important parts of the book. Remember, the exposition is the beginning, the setup, the setting. Where are we? What's going on? The rising action, this is when things start to heat up. So, maybe the initial conflict that happens. The climax, this is what you tell people the book's about. If you remember The Most Dangerous Game from when you were little, or when you were in 9th grade, maybe you came home, mom said, "What are you reading?" It's a story about a man hunting another man on an island. That is the climax. That is the main point of the book. If you remember Romeo and Juliet, it's forbidden love. And when Romeo kills, or actually, I guess when Romeo's buddy, Mercutio, is killed, is kind of the climax, but I digress. So what is the main part of the book? The falling action. This is the majority of the book. This is how the main characters react to the climax. And then the resolution is how is everything neatly tied away at the end. Okay? So, depending on where you are, you should at least be able to do exposition right now. Maybe if you're further along, you can start to fill in the rising action and climax. Again, you don't have to use the words, but think of it as what happens first, next, then, after, last, or the most important 5 plot points. And if you were to put it on a plot line, what would be those 5 things you have to tell people that cover the entire book? All right, menu choice 1. You got to complete all. You can't just say one word. Like if we're, again, to use our Paper Towns, you can't say Q, he's in love with Margot. That is not a full explanation. You got to give me some sentences here. Now, this is the outline, so you don't have to complete full sentences, but you could say Q, bullet point, he's in love with his neighbor. He has never really taken any chances. Slowly but surely, he comes out of his shell. He's experiencing a character arc. He discovers that it is a crime to hold someone in such high regard that they don't even, you no longer view them as a person, that we should not have impossible explanations for one another. Those things would explain who Q is, the protagonist. Again, who's the antagonist? Doesn't have to be a person. The antagonist is the antagonizing force, or the force with which the main character struggles. Maybe it's a storm. Maybe it's inner doubt. Maybe it's another character, certainly, but it doesn't have to be. It's the thing the main character struggles against. Supporting characters, who else is in the book? Maybe you've only met a couple. Maybe you've met one. Write those names down. Fill out some details as you go. Who's your favorite character? Maybe you have one, but maybe it changes. You might say in the beginning of the book, I really like this character. But then, slowly but surely, I did not. And in the end of the book, it turns out that I liked blah, blah, blah. The setting, remember, it's time and place. Character arc. Most books should have one. There should be some sort of change that happens to the character along the way. If not, there are books that don't really have a character arc. I wouldn't say they're great, but there are certainly many. But maybe you could talk about the arc of the story, at least, or what the character's going through. So if the character's not changing, what is the character going through along the way? Character archetypes. Here you might want to do some searching as to what some character archetypes are. I've talked about some, but there's like the knight in shining armor. There is the wizard or the wise sage character. There is the damsel in distress. There's the betrayer, the Judas type character, the one that betrays people. There are many, the pirate type character, the joker or jester type character. So maybe type in Google, do a quick Google search, character archetypes. Maybe you list a couple. You know, in this book, there is certainly the knight in shining armor. In this book, there is the recluse. In this book, there is also the sage, and they are represented by blah, blah, blah. Narrative voice. Is it in first person from one of the main character's perspectives? Who's that that's telling the story? Is it the main character, or is it a side character, like in one of my favorite books from Ken Kesey, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? It's not the main character. It's not Randall Patrick McMurphy, the protagonist, that tells the story. It's the chief. He is a supporting character, but it's through his eyes the story unfolds. Is it a third-person omniscient? Meaning, is it an unknown narrator that knows what all the characters think and feel? Or is it third-person limited, meaning another character talking he and she, but they're only telling you what one person thinks and feels? That's the narrative voice. Menu choice 2. Story development, be deep, be specific, complete all. So if you remember your conflict types, you've got character versus character, character versus self, character versus setting. You can also have character versus society, character versus supernatural, character versus technology. And then what is the conflict and how does it become more complicated? You should find at least 3 conflicts and how each of them become more entangled. Then we've got profundity. Here you're going to pick one aspect and take it all the way through. For example, in Paper Towns, the action. Margot Ross Spiegelman flees and leaves because she was betrayed. Mental plane, her thoughts and feelings. Well, she thought, she was hurt, she was crushed, that her friends cheated on her, and she felt she was lied to. Moral plane, I disagree with Margot's actions because I wouldn't flee, blah, blah, blah. Psychological plane, what motivated her to? Well, she was motivated because her boyfriend, Jace, blah, blah, blah. Analogical plane, maybe you're going to connect it to another John Green book. Maybe you're going to connecting it to you. That's that comparison. Philosophical plane, big ideas. We've got the idea of speciousness or being fake in the book was a large theme. Margot was a paper girl, and that's why she escaped the paper town, and then transformational. Because of Margot's leaving, I am now going to whatever. How your life is better for having read the book. We've got quotes. We've done this all year long. Give us a couple and then set it up and then explain why that quote is important to you or why that quote is important to the book. Literary devices. You can use literarydevices.net if you don't know the terms here, but choose 4. Tell us what that term means and again, use 4, tell us what that term means, and how it is seen in the book. So what is the mood? Give us a definition, what is the mood in the book? Give us an example, maybe a quote of a simile that is used in the book, or the imagery that is used in the book. Menu choice 6, lingering questions as you go. I wonder what blank. I inference this. And then last is literary criticism. pick one and explain. You can use Google if you want. So those are your choices.